the things that we want to talk about tonight is that Jen was making headlines over the fact that you dated someone that has literally stolen your car. And at this point, after stealing your car, you get all this information and you find out that he has done this to multiple women across the country. And I don't want anybody to think I didn't ask Jen questions, because people ask me, well, did you ask her anything? Yes, I asked her lots of stuff. And I do get where Jen is coming from. I asked her things like, Jen, do you think there was a red flag that you missed? It's just, you think back, because I always think back when I was dating my abuser, I had all kind of flags. They were flagging all over me, and I just didn't look at them, you know. But I asked Jen things like, because I know you guys are going to drop your questions. I asked Jen questions like, Jen, when you guys went to a restaurant together, did the waitress ever come over and say, hi, Mr. Leeks, thank you for purchasing, or thank you for being here, Mr. Leeks? Or if you checked into a hotel and you picked up the phone to order room service, did they say, Mr. Leeks, what would you like to be, would you like to eat? Or, just different things. And one of the things Jen said was that she knew his last name. So he gave her the correct last name. He did not give her the correct first name. Okay. And another point that Jen made was, I asked her, has she ever seen his ID? And she said to me that when you're dating, do you ask to see people's ID? And that's true. I never asked to see Greg's ID. When I dated the Albanian guy, John Collage, I never asked to see his ID, although he came through a source that
right.
I felt they knew him, and it was a decent source. So, but I never asked to see his ID. I don't even remember if I've ever seen it to this day, really.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I had a conversation with some of my friends, right? And, I was like, okay, listen, like, let's be honest here. So think back to guys that you have dated and how many guys you saw like their license. That's not like something that you necessarily ask for, because I don't know, call me naive, but I just don't think that people are out here lying about their name. I guess because I don't feel the need to lie about my name, I just would never think that.
I also said to Jennifer, I know this much. So Jennifer was in Atlanta. This is before she moved to Atlanta. She come down to Atlanta. She was looking for something to do. And I said to her, I'm not coming out tonight, but you should probably go to, I'll tell you places that people, of caliber hang out. Go to the St. Regis Hotel. They have a beautiful lobby. The next day I spoke to Jen. She said she'd gone to the St. Regis Hotel and she met someone. Fast forward, it was this person, that has since stolen her car from her. So place doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're in some luxury, fabulous places, because those people that's in those places can be con artists as well. So there you go.
And I just want to say, so this guy, what I've come to learn in, the past few days, well, I've learned a lot in the past few days, but he's been doing this for, 20 years or so. So this has really been his job. So he has a PhD in conning people. And, it's not just me. There are dozens of victims that have come forward that have very similar stories. I can't tell you how many people have said, oh my God, he stole my car, and, he ruined my credit, and I'm dealing with the bankruptcy court now. I've had a guy's bankruptcy attorney reach out to my attorney saying that this guy took two of this man's cars. It's like a Benz and a Maserati, ran up his credit cards. So it's like, this is what he does for a living. He's out here, scamming people. And I just was like, I can't let this continue. Like, I can't let it be on my watch. This is bigger than my Range Rover. I can get another Range Rover, but this guy cannot continue to be out here ruining people's lives. I mean, the stories that I've been hearing, it's really draining on me, because it's so heartbreaking to hear what he is doing to other women. He's doing it to men. He robbed his own mentally ill father. He got a lawsuit. And he got a settlement. And he literally took all this man's money and said he was going to invest it. I'm talking about his own father, and ran off with the money. So
that's crazy.
It's not, it's not just me, unfortunately. But I feel like now that I do have this platform and I spoke up, and people are courageous enough to send me messages in my DMs and share their stories, I feel like, you know what, I have to do something about this. Justice has to be served here, because this man is going to continue doing the same things. And part of the problem is, you know, people like to victim blame. And this is part of the reason why people don't step up and say something. You know, I have so many negative comments on my posts just because of whatever reason. People think I'm a liar. They think, I mean, I don't know why I would have to lie about my car being stolen. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing. Or whether they just hate me. I don't really care. But the point is, I don't have a reason to lie. But this is the same reason why people don't come forward, because they feel embarrassed. They feel like people are going to judge them. So they just take the L in private. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm happy that I was, you know, courageous enough to step up. Do I want to necessarily tell this story? No, it's embarrassing. But guess what? God placed me in this position for a reason, because this man has been doing it for too long, and it has to stop.
Yes, it does. I will say this. I know the weekend that you gave him your car because you were coming down to Ladies of Success in Miami. I told you to put it in my garage. You said you had somewhere else to put it, and you gave it to this person. Um, I think I think the can you just take us back a little bit, like Jen, like when you were dating him, when you first went out with him, did he treat you like a lady? I mean, I told you before that a lot of these people are like sheep in wolf clothing. You know,
No,
they
absolutely. You
so he
know,
was kind to you. He treated you
no,
like a lady.
well, look, he's very charming. You know, like, obviously, like I said, he's been preying on women, so he he knows what to say. You know, but he's very charming. We, you know, again, I live in LA. He lived in Atlanta. So for the most part, you know, we had great conversations when we saw each
Mhm.
other. You know, we had a good time there. I didn't really see any, you know, I didn't see any red flags, because again, he knows what to do. He's been doing this for
Yeah,
for
he's an
20 years.
expert.
You
He's
know?
an
Like,
expert.
we were dating, and I
Yeah.
didn't see anything that was, you know, unusual.
Yeah. I mean, he's an expert. You have to understand if somebody's been doing this for 20 years, they know what they're doing.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
not green to this situation at all. And the fact that he's done this, like, he literally, like, does this in his sleep, you know? Like, I don't know how he sleeps, actually, because he
Yeah.
clearly just doesn't even have a conscience.
He has a black heart. I can tell you that
Absolutely.
right now. His heart is
Absolutely.
black, honey.
And the thing is, so, you know, he's been able to continue to do this because people haven't said anything. Some people have made reports, but he's been doing this all over the country. Okay. So I've had people reach out to me from all over, you know, Kansas City, Atlanta, Alabama. I mean, you name it. Okay.
Mhm.
North Dakota, just like crazy places. So he's been doing this in different places. Some people have made reports, some people haven't. Um, but the cops haven't been able to connect the dot. One, because he's been using so many different aliases, you know?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
um, the girl he did it to, unfortunately, she passed away in Kansas City, but I spoke to her sister, and she thought his name was Brian Nichols. Um, a man in Atlanta that he hasn't seen his truck in a year, hasn't reported it stolen. He thinks his name is Chris. I don't know what he thinks his last name is, but he thinks his name is Chris. Now, this is I don't know if he's bisexual, but he's definitely a man, and he
Hmm.
said they had relations. This is alleged, nothing's proven. I don't know,
Right.
but
Right.
I'm just telling you what this is what has been coming to me in the past couple days. So it's, you know, it's crazy. It's just
Well,
crazy.
Jen, can you tell us a little bit about like when you're in a situation like this with a car, how you have to still pay for it? Like when will the insurance say you're not responsible for it anymore?
Well, yeah, if you're in a situation like this, and you have a car and you have a car note and your car gets stolen, one, you have to report it because you need a police report for your insurance. So you
Hmm.
have to report it, and you know, the police, they're going to investigate it. You know, like so they started investigating my case, and he happened
Hmm.
to tell the lieutenant that I gave him my truck, which was true. He said that I
Hmm.
gave him my truck because I wanted him to rent it out, and he said I wanted him to rent it out because I was late on my payments, which is absolutely not true.
Right.
And he put a tracker on it. This is everything he told the lieutenant. He
Mm-hmm.
put a tracker on it. He rented it to some guy named Paul McGowan, and he doesn't know where his number is. Now the tracker is not working, whatever, whatever. Here's the bottom line. I did give him my truck to put up. Okay, you know that because I talked to you about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to give somebody your car to run an errand, whatever. You give me your car, I'm supposed to go to Publix. I don't bring the car back. At that point, I stole your car. It's really that simple. It's
Right.
not rocket science. You give somebody your car, the minute you ask them to return it and they don't return it and they cannot produce your car is stolen. So the lieutenant asked him to return my car. He cannot produce my car. So where the hell is the car?
It's stolen. And we're talking about months in, though.
Allegedly, he's a part of like this car ring that he's been arrested for before. So there's a big car ring in Atlanta. Atlanta's like the land of, listen, you could get scammed anywhere, but it's just like they really specialize in Atlanta on scams.
I didn't know that.
There's a big car ring where it's a bunch of luxury stolen cars, and people are out here stealing cars, changing VIN numbers, and either renting them out, selling them, and you have no idea that you're driving around in a stolen car. Now, I think this happens to people that, they have a lot of cash. They might not have got it legally. I don't know, but
They probably some people deal in cash because they don't have the credit.
That's what I was gonna say. So yeah, but I'm learning like all these things. I feel like John Walsh. I'm like, what the hell? Like it's a whole world. It's really crazy.
So Jen, what do you say to people who say things like, you should have had your eyes more open. Like you should have noticed. Something should have told you. Like, tell us, Jen, you gave him the car in November 2019, and we are really talking about this months later. That's his story. Because that boy put that on social media. He said, who gives somebody their car for like however many months and then don't ask about it? That's what he said.
Right. No, so that's not the case. So I gave him the car in November, and, I was moving to Atlanta, and I was in a process of buying a house.
Yes, I remember.
I had an issue with my closing. Actually, when I moved, I didn't even think it was going to be an issue with my car because actually, as I was on the plane, I thought I was closing on my house 2 days later.
Yes.
Before I was getting on the plane, right?
Right.
And so, as I'm on the plane, there's an issue with the closing. I'm like, great, are you kidding me? Because at this point, I know my cars are already in Atlanta and my stuff is on the way. So I'm like, I knew I had to leave out of town. And I'm just like, okay, one car you could kind of figure out. Maybe you could leave it at the airport or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I have 2 vehicles. So it's difficult to figure out, okay, where am I going to put 2 cars? And again, I had known him. We have been in a relationship. He allegedly is a car dealer. It just kind of made sense, So I gave him my car. Issue with the closing. I didn't end up getting that house. So now I'm back at, square one, which is a really stressful situation because at this point I'm pretty much homeless. I'm like I thought I was closing on this house. It's not happening. Where am I going to live? So to be honest with you, the last thing I was thinking about was my car because I'm figuring, it's safe. And he's telling me, he was like, hey, you need to get an oil change, whatever. So there was nothing like out of the ordinary. So I stayed in the hotel for a while, so I wasn't really like trying to get my car. And then I got a temporary place at the 12 in Atlantic Station, which is like Fort Knox, and we have 1 parking spot. So I'm like, all right, I don't really need my car right now. But then, now I'm about to close on my house. And I'm like, before then I had asked him about the car and he was like always deflecting, right? And I'm like, yo, like, what's going on with my car? But then I really wasn't stressing it because again, I didn't really have a place to put it.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, cool. Like I know I'm closing, like I got my house and dude can't produce my car. So I had went to the cops one time and, I was explaining to them the situation and they were like, well, do you think that he's going to return the car? Because the minute I put this car in as stolen, this is a big deal. Like this is a felony charge, and if he gets pulled over, it's not going to be nice for him. So I'm like, so I want to do that, because I'm like, well, maybe he's going to give me the car back,
Right.
So again, still try to get the car, to no avail. So then at this point, I'm like, I go talk to the attorney. I'm like, what do you think I should do? He's like, look, we got to go to the police station. So he went with me to the police station. So it wasn't, people think it was 5 months. It wasn't. It's just, they haven't done anything about it because, one, we're going through a pandemic. So, and it's not really a
Right.
priority. Now, if, you know,
The courts are different now. People do know that.
right. And the detective said, like, listen, there's been a lot of violent crimes that got dumped on my desk. They take precedence over property crimes.
Sure.
So they're not really, worried about this girl that Range Rover is allegedly stolen, but this guy is saying that he rented it out. So, it's kind of confusing for them because, again, he's been doing this for 20 years, so he kind of like knows what to say to like
Say,
get
yeah.
them off, And I'm like, no, like that's not the case. So, that's why I decided to go public with it because I'm like, this is crazy. They're not doing anything. I don't know what to do. I'm in this predicament, and I'm glad I did because I found out a lot of victims, and I'm not alone. So now it's forcing their hand to do something, and actually the FBI is involved because it's cars across different states, and
Yeah.
it's just too much, like it's bigger than the Smyrna police now.
Yeah. I get that. I totally get it, Jenny, and I understand. I understand because I know a lot of it that was some of it that was happening, when you dated and when you moved and all that kind
Right.
of stuff. But anyway, so what do you have to say? Let me just take a couple of questions. How about I do that? The question will pop up on the screen. Why don't I do that? Okay. Okay. That's not true. Whoever it says, why are they saying the guy who conned her is Marlo friend? That's not true. Marlo don't know anything
Oh, but
about
I
the
do
guy,
want to say this. So
to my knowledge.
I did go to Sheree's house with him. So
Yes.
Sheree knows him. Him and Sheree are friends. I don't know how, but I went to Sheree's house with him for a pajama party that she had last year for her birthday. So, I'm
Hmm.
thinking this guy is legit. Like, he knows Sheree, he knows like people in Atlanta. So I wasn't thinking that, this was a con man.
So this is somebody that this guy took Jennifer to Sheree's house, and he's a con artist. And so she's thinking maybe Sheree would know something. I mean, I don't know. Just let me take another
I mean, I don't
question.
know. I don't know how she knows him, but they definitely
Yeah,
know each other because, again, he said Sheree's having this party. We gotta go. It's a pajama party. Blah blah blah. So we went. Candy was there. Like, I saw different people there. So
yeah.
it was, yeah.
You thought it was a jail. Okay, next question said, do you believe her, Nene? I do. I do. Like, I've been knowing Jen for a while. So it's not like I'm talking to somebody that I don't know. The weekend that we're speaking of when she gave him the car is the weekend she was meeting me actually in Miami. And that's the weekend that I had offered her to put her car in my garage. And I do know when Jen came here, I do know she wasn't closing on her house because we discussed it. I even tried to turn her over to my mortgage person who closed my house. So I do know all of those things that were happening. Had I ever met this person, I've never met this guy before. So I don't know anything about him. But I know Jen has two cars. I've written in both of them. And I just can't even imagine her getting on social media lying about her car being missing. I mean, it's just, to me, it just seems like a dumb story. Like, why would she just come out and say her car is missing just for attention or
I
something? It
mean,
doesn't make sense. It
that's
doesn't.
fraud.
Yeah.
I've never been to jail. I'm
Yeah.
an upstanding citizen. I don't have a reason to lie, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like, it's like this guy is out here doing these awful things, and I'm like, this guy, it has to stop. It has to
Yeah.
stop. And a
Yeah.
lot of his victims, they keep reaching out to me, and they're like, please, Jennifer, don't get discouraged. Like, we need some justice to happen. Thank you for
Yeah.
being a voice. So,
Yeah.
it's like hard because these stories that I keep hearing, it's so sad, and honestly, it's really draining to keep hearing the same thing over and over, and it just blows my mind that this man has been able to get away with it for so long.